The Seventh Galactic Council met beneath a dome of light, the spires of Jaruk-Tel gleaming like sharpened spears in the void. 17 species, one purpose: war. And not just any war. This one was ceremonial, inevitable. The humans had been deemed a Category 9 threat, primitive, isolated, a species that disobeyed summons and denied subjugation. A Sothar diplomat clicked its jaws. The humans refused our ultimatum, again. Laughter hissed across the chamber. Different mouths, different throats, same contempt. Ambassador Vex of the Ulari leaned forward, his translucent skin twitching. Earth has no standing fleet, no core allies, no quantum lattice gate. They think hiding in that gravity well will save them. They cannot even travel beyond their moon, scoffed the Skrell matron. And still, said Vex, eyes narrowing, they act as if their silence is a choice. AVD spike. Silence dropped like a blade, because that line, that word, silence, unsettled them more than it should have. Has anyone seen Earth? Asked a junior delegate. We've scanned their system, said the Sothar. Their infrastructure is laughable. They still burn hydrocarbons. Then declare it, Vex said. End the debate. A circle of lights appeared above the dome. Each species voted. 17 lights turned red. By order of the Seventh Council, the Sothar declared, the humans are to be dismantled, efficiently, publicly. There was no cheer, just protocol, symbolic moment. Vex leaned back, mandibles. On twitching, they'll resist, you know, he said softly. The matron glanced at him. Good. 3 days later, a message was sent, short, brutal, unignorable. Earth, comply or collapse. There was no reply, only quiet. Then, the outpost started going dark. First, Proxima Relay 5, then the Vega Listening Tower, then the AI Logistics Hub on Titan Gate. Each time, no debris, no survivors. Only one thing was left behind. A word, burned into walls, into ships, even into the frozen ground. Heard. AVD Spike. The flagship Obedience of Law entered Sol system with arrogance in its engine trails. The crew laughed as they passed Mars, mocked Earth's silent orbit, scoffed at the lack of resistance. They never saw what killed them. No alarm, no attack, just rupture. The ship fractured into 6 perfect segments, laser-sheared, and floating in the center of what remained, a black box, human-built, projecting a calm voice. This was not a warning. This was a courtesy. Back at the council, the atmosphere had curdled. They have weapons. No, that was too clean. Not conventional, not even kinetic. Then what? We don't know. They must have had help. No other empire claims them. Then, who taught them? No one answered. AVD Spike. A Krith tech specialist pulled up a recording. It was intercepted from Earth's moon base. Ancient. Language, poor signal, but real. The humans were quoting Sun Tzu. The chamber fell still. They read war theory? They lived it, Vex whispered. We should have asked why they stopped expanding. Earth never sent a fleet. Never spoke. Never broadcast threats. They simply began dismantling everything that watched them. The Council's long-range observatory, gone. The merchant lane near Alpha Centauri, minefield. The Ark convoy of the Vurari, evacuating a nearby moon. Intercepted. Disappeared. All without a declaration. All without a trace. AVD Spike. One day, 17 Council species received a simultaneous transmission. From Earth, it was a map, not of the galaxy, of them. Each empire's fleet strength, location, command structure, weak points, even internal politics, and one word burned across the top. Understood. Panic started quietly. Then it roared. Fleet retraction. Emergency defenses, rapid alliances, and still no attack from Earth, only observation. Symbolic moment. On a distant world, a young Sothar watched the sky at night and asked her elder, why did they wait? The elder's voice cracked, because they wanted us to see them watching. Back in the council, chaos was barely concealed. Ambassadors argued, warlords hissed threats, analysts screamed predictions. But Varric said nothing. He just stared. At the wall, at the map, at the word, understood. They don't act like prey, someone said. No, Varric replied. They act like judgment. And then the council chamber went dark, not powered down. Killed. Every screen, every light, every defense system hijacked, replaced with a new signal, a human signal, simple, low bandwidth, ancient font. We were quiet. You called it weakness. We watched. You called it fear. You declared war. Now you learn our definition of destruction. AVD spike. In the distance, on the edge of council-controlled space, thousands of signals lit up, unregistered. Silent, approaching, ships not like theirs, angular, black fast, too fast, built for something worse than war, built for message. Inside the darkened chamber, Varric stood alone now. The others had left or fled. He stared into the dark, no screens, no voices, and finally he whispered to the air, "What are you?" A pause. Then from nowhere, a voice. Soft. Human. "We are what comes after arrogance." And that was before. Earth even responded. The Sothar Prime Nest burned for 3 days. Not from orbitals, not from bombs, from panic. It began with light flickers. Every console across every ship and station blinked, lagged, rebooted. Then came the data corruption. Not wiped, rewritten. Krill troop rosters replaced by the names of human civilians killed in their earliest conflicts. The Yulari food processors began extruding weapons manuals in Dead Earth languages. Council encryption keys were replaced by the phrase, "You called it war. We called it memory." AVD spike. On station Veer 6, a transmission burst through every feed. A human soldier, helmet off, face scarred, calm. "I want to tell you a story," he said. He described the moment his home city vanished in a council cleansing sweep. No warning, no trial, just strategic testing. His voice didn't shake, his gaze didn't wander. "It was my sister's birthday," he said. Then the feed cut. 17 million council citizens saw it, and they stopped laughing. On Earth, silence remained. A tactic. No mass conscription, no global mobilization, only quiet. Inside the ruins of Johannesburg, now rebuilt into an underground command nexus, Commander Ilara Hayes oversaw Operation Echo Judgment. She studied a map, not of space, but of psychology. "Target the systems that hold memory," she said. "Their archives. No, their stories, their holidays, their myths." Her aide blinked. "Ma'am?" Hayes pointed to a stream of incoming. "Council propaganda, songs, nursery rhymes, motivational broadcasts. All of it. Rewrite it. Make the children ask what happened to the monsters in their stories." AVD spike. Earth didn't strike with metal. It struck with meaning. Council. Civilians began reporting strange dreams. A figure in the dark. Human-shaped. Not killing, just watching. Every time they tried to speak, it whispered, "Do you remember what you did?" Back at the Yulari High Spire, Varric faced his own reflection, mandibles shaking. "We went too far," he muttered. His advisor stepped back. "They haven't even fired back." Exactly. Another message arrived, physical, hand-delivered by an empty scout ship that drifted into orbit without resistance. Inside it, a single artifact. Child's shoe, burnt, wrapped in human military parchment bearing a single sentence, "This is why." Varric dropped it. Across Krill space, weapons depots began activating by themselves, then detonating. No alarms, no countdowns, just light. At first, Council analysts suspected internal sabotage, but every detonation was followed by a short, encoded signature, W-77. The war logs identified that as the orbital designation of a lost human child transport ship from decades earlier, burned out, gone, Forgotten? Apparently not. AVD Spike. Entire galactic fleets rerouted to defend their own territories, not from invasion, but from ghosts of their own war crimes. Commander Sothar 3H Kill sent a desperate message across channels. They're not fighting back. They're mirroring us. Earth never denied it, but it never confirmed either. Symbolic moment. On a council-backed mining colony, a statue of the great conqueror Zarnak was toppled overnight. No trace of human boots, only an ancient earth coin left. On the pedestal, rusted, on its surface, in memory of the fallen. The miners stopped working that day, and never returned. Back in orbit over Jupiter, a human vessel, the Black Rit, floated near the edge of council detection. Inside it, General Elias Ward stared at a screen, hand hovering over a neural link. "Port, do we begin the strikes?" asked Alara Hayes through the link. "Not yet," Ward said. "They're not ready. They're fracturing. We have the advantage. That's not the goal." "What is?" Ward leaned forward, understanding. AVD Spike. In his private chamber, Ward opened a sealed archive, Operation Atlas. It wasn't a strike plan. It was a sequence of words, just words. When spoken, they triggered implanted fears in the Council's most aggressive species, seeded by covert neural imprint years ago. They called it Whispers of the Ash War. A fake conflict, inserted into the Council's history using their own historians, their own artists, their own myths. Humans had rewritten their memory of a war that never happened, and now they feared its return. Elsewhere, Commander Tal of the Krill sat in her bunker, fingers trembling over her compad. She watched as old training recordings from the human resilience trials flooded their systems. Grainy footage of Earth children, enduring disaster simulations, fire, famine, loss, and emerging stronger. One clip looped, a child buried under rubble, coughing, whispering, "If we survive this, we learn how to end it next time." AVD Spike, that same child 20 years later, was now leading Black Ops strikes across 3 sectors. Her name, Kyra Voss, code name Ashlight, and she had just taken over Council's elite orbital fortress. And without firing a single shot, Vex sat once again in the chamber. Fewer delegates now, less shouting, more pacing. "We must strike Earth directly," hissed the Skrell matron. "Glass the surface. Be done." "You're assuming they'll stay on the surface," Vex replied. "What do you mean?" Vex turned to the central hollow. Earth's satellite network had gone dark. Their cities were empty, and yet the planet still pulsed. "Where did they go?" she asked. Vex didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "Why do you think they let us watch them for so long?" AVD Spike. At that moment, a final message arrived. Not visual, not auditory, tactile. Council. Ships in every major system received the same thing. Pressure, as if the void itself had shifted. Followed by nothing, not silence, a vacuum of information, the absence of Earth. They had shut down every frequency, blocked every scan, jammed every attempt. It was like Earth had vanished, and in its place, only one message remained across every sensor channel. "You wanted a war. We are what comes after." Back in orbit, Alara turned to Ward. "Do we move?" He nodded slowly. "Now they understand the cost. Do we destroy them?" "No." AVD Spike. He looked out the window. Stars shimmered, distorted by the cloak of waiting vessels. "We leave them their skies," Ward whispered, "but make them afraid to look up." And somewhere deep in the void, behind a curtain of stealth and silence, Earth remained untouched. Not because it was too far, not because it was too weak, but because they wanted the Council to live long enough to understand what total destruction really meant. The slow, irreversible disassembly of empire, of myth, of pride, of the belief that they chose when wars ended, because now it wasn't their war anymore. It was Earth's lesson, and class had just begun. The twin suns of Virelian 9 dimmed unexpectedly at 0400 local. not due to orbit, not due to eclipse. The orbital mirrors, vital for photosynthesis on this council aligned. Terraformer had shifted, subtly, deliberately. All 12 satellite units now formed a message in binary code across the sky, visible from every continent. We watched, you boasted. Now learn what silence creates. The council citizens screamed, not from pain, from recognition, because that same message had appeared 6 days ago, carved into the bones of a derelict Ulari dreadnought adrift in neutral space. No survivors, no power signatures, just a skeleton of ambition, punctuated by poetry, and Earth had never admitted it. AVD spike. A broadcast interrupted all council feeds. No image, just a heartbeat, a real human heartbeat, measured slow, rhythmic. Then a voice, without anger. This beat is older than your species, and it keeps going. Inside the Skrell Dominion's capital chamber, panic had evolved into protocol failure. The Empire's warcast, known for discipline, now broke formation in the face of phantom threats. Their logistics AI refused input. Navigation relays reversed charts. When scanned for corruption, the root files read, "You mapped stars. We mapped you." The matron slammed her fist into the console. "Deploy the Omega Prism. Every ship we have." Her aide trembled. "It's already deployed." "What? Without my order?" "No, matron. It was ordered 3 years ago." Silence. No one had ever planned that far ahead. AVD spike, until now. Elsewhere in the galaxy, a refugee convoy drifted near the fringe of abandoned council space. 17 ships, thousands of frightened civilians, old species, young, once, loyal to the council, now forgotten. They found a small satellite, black unregistered, broadcasting an open signal on every language channel. You were not targets. You were witnesses. Then the satellite opened, not a weapon, a beacon. Inside, food, water, medicine, and data. Files documenting every council atrocity from the last century. Names, faces, confessions, all verified, all real. No manipulation, no propaganda, just truth. AVD spike. The refugees wept, not because they were spared, because they realized Earth wasn't conquering, it was clarifying, and that was worse. On the hidden moon of Ceres Prime, Earth's intelligence command ran silent drills, no shouting, no ceremony, just shadows and code. Kara Voss, Ashlight, oversaw a simulation. The screen showed council forces attempting to rally. They began transmitting recruitment messages to fringe colonies. "Shut it down," she said. "With a virus? No. With a myth." She gestured. The team initiated Whisper Protocol. Within hours, the rally broadcasts were intercepted, then subtly altered. Voices now carried false fear, a sense of hesitance, doubt woven between every syllable. The altered messages returned to council space. AVD spike. Weeks later, 40% of new enlistees defected before reaching training. They didn't know why, just unease, as if something was watching, something human. Meanwhile, Varric of the Ulari stood before his people, not as a conqueror, but as a historian. "They aren't exterminating us," he said. "They're making sure we understand why we shouldn't have tried." He paused. "And they're doing it slowly," his voice cracked. "This is what destruction feels like, not fire, but knowing your grandchildren will never chant your songs again." The council attempted a desperate response, Operation Sun Hammer, a plan to overload Earth's sun via quantum destabilizers hidden in old surveillance satellites. Dozens of species contributed tech, billions of credits spent. They launched the trigger and watched as nothing happened, because Earth had known. The payload never reached the corona. Something intercepted it mid-transit. Not destroyed, reversed. The destabilizers were returned to the Council command station inside a titanium container, written on its lid, "You've forgotten what you're playing with." "We haven't." AVD spike. On board the Council's last active dreadnought Firegrasp, an officer noticed something strange. The ship's AI occasionally paused before executing orders. Not long, just a beat, like it was hesitating. Engineers tore apart the logic chains, and deep inside the lowest layer, hidden in a redundancy file written in ancient dialect, they found one phrase. "We never aimed to be louder, only heard." They initiated full wipe, but the phrase reappeared, and this time the file added something else. "Your silence would have been enough." Symbolic moment. On Earth, a child sat in an underground school. A new subject had been added to the curriculum, galactic history. Not from Earth's perspective, but theirs. They studied every planet that once mocked humanity, not to hate, to understand how power blinds and how memory can correct it. Back in Council space, internal sabotage reached critical levels. Entire battalions refusing orders, civil wars erupting between former allies. Fear of human retaliation turned into suspicion, suspicion into betrayal, and betrayal into collapse. The Council no longer needed Earth to destroy them. They were doing it themselves, and Earth just watched. Inside his hidden bunker, General Ward read a letter written in alien script. A personal apology from a former Council operative who had defected. It ended with one line: "You could have burned us, but instead you made us think. That is why we cannot sleep." AVD Spike. Ward burned the letter, not out of cruelty, out of privacy, because the war wasn't a war, it was a message. And Earth had no interest in trophies, only in silence. Ilara Hayes entered. "It's time," she said. Ward didn't look up. "They've lost. They don't know it yet." "They will," she paused. "Do we show them the Ark?" Ward finally met her eyes. "No. Why not?" "Because they think we haven't sent our best yet." AVD Spike. She frowned. "Have we?" Ward turned. "Away, we're still deciding what best means." Across the stars, Council children were born under human-shaped shadows. Not statues, not symbols, just impressions. Ghosts of stories told by their elders, who once laughed at Earth and now whispered warnings instead. They were quiet. They waited. They remembered. That was Earth's final weapon. Memory. Because total destruction wasn't burning cities. It was letting the ones who built them wonder every day if the humans were coming, and worse, if they already had. The final Council meeting was held in a bunker. Not a chamber, not a hall, a bunker. The once proud Sothar and Ulari sat beside broken Krill and trembling Skrell. No guards, no translators, no flags, just fear. A projection lit the middle of the room. It wasn't official. No ceremony, just a quiet satellite. Pinging an Earth frequency, a planet unknown, rotated slowly. One of theirs, already gone. The Krill matron whispered, "How long until they reach the core worlds?" Verek didn't answer. He didn't know anymore, because Earth wasn't moving in straight lines. They weren't attacking systems. They weren't even claiming ground. They were disassembling memory. AVD Spike. In the last 22 days, 63 Council record centers had gone dark. Not destroyed, deleted. Every birth certificate, every anthem, every mural, not war, erasure. The Skrell general stood. "We can sue for peace." "With who?" Verek said. The general paused. "They never even sent a name." "Exactly." Across the stars, civilian children stared at the skies, drawing circles around constellations that used to mean something. Now, each formation had a new story. Those 5 stars, that's where the humans made a fleet disappear. AVD Spike. Galactic classrooms taught new calendars, with a gap, a blank period where no lessons were given. The reason? Those years now belong to Earth. A reminder, a scar. Not because Earth wanted it, but because the galaxy had gifted it to them through guilt. General Ward walked alone across the quiet plains of Iceland. No escort, no armor, just a sky full of old satellites blinking their silent vigilance. Alara Hayes joined him, silent at first. Then, "They're asking if we're done." Ward's breath was steady. "Are we? They think this was the attack." "It wasn't. They think we won." He stopped walking. "We didn't," she frowned. "Then what was all this?" Ward looked up at the stars. "We held a mirror." AVD Spike. Back on the Ulari Core moon, a small crowd gathered where the Great Archive once stood. Now, a single stone monument remained. On it, a name, not human, not alien, just a child, lost in the first fire. Below that name, etched in every galactic tongue, "You thought you declared war. You never understood what we survived. This is how we remember." In a secret sector known only by Earth Command, the Ark fleet stood dormant, rows upon rows of silent vessels. Some for war, some for colonization, others for something else. Ward approached the first one, touched the hull. Symbolic moment. No label, no emblem, just a handprint blackened into the metal. Kara Voss stood behind him. "You think they'll come back? They always do." She studied the fleet. "We didn't fire a shot. We fired a memory. They'll rebuild." Ward didn't answer at first, then let them. "But this time, they'll build with us in the room." AVD Spike. Final transmission from Earth to the galaxy was not encrypted. It was a child's voice, reading from an old forgotten Earth book. "Peace is not the absence of war. Peace is when you're afraid to start one." Back on the Council's last functioning relay station, a technician watched the feed blink, then shut off, for good. No more signals, no more warnings. Earth was quiet again, and somehow that was the loudest thing of all. And in every empire, every system, every broken archive, they whispered the final truth. They didn't destroy us. They let us do that ourselves. And that was before Earth even responded.